Good minstrel, your music has touched my soul in a way no other song has. Strong 10. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review. Quakers. These guys are a hip-hop collective. They have a new album out on the legendary record label Stones Throw Records. And this thing is a pretty hefty project. It has a roster of epic proportions. At the base of this project is 3 producers, 7 Stew 7, Catalyst, and Fuzzface, aka Jeff Barrow of Portishead. And on top of that, you have 30 or so MCs spitting on an assortment of 40 or so beats that these 3 producers have put together. And, you know, I'll admit completely that I was very skeptical into this project. I'm usually not really that big of a fan of hip-hop albums in this format, these producer curated albums that kind of cherry pick MCs and give each of them their own separate tracks, kind of throw them all onto the same album in a mixed bag. I usually don't find albums of this style to be that consistent, cohesive, coherent, or focused. A lot of the time, for me, the MCs that get invited onto these things don't even bring their best stuff either. I mean, you'd think that all the MCs that came together on producer-curated albums from Jake One or Madlib or Ninth Wonder would end in a pretty fiery rap battle, but just didn't happen, not the case. To me, these albums aren't as impressive as they could be because the MCs that you're listening to, you're only really getting a small, tiny sliver of their persona. The rhymes and the personality that they throw out, it's really surface level. And that's what pretty much happens on Quakers, because you have so many MCs on one album and they only have this little tiny sliver of time to spit on this beat that is 1 to 2 minutes long. These guys don't really have a chance to go deeper with much of anything. So most of the MCs on here kind of fall backwards lazily on this Wu-Tang style, caustic humor, braggadocio. The vocal samples and lyrics on this album even go forward to reference Wu-Tang a handful of times. For me, it's important to get something a little deeper than that from an MC when I'm listening to him or her rap, especially since there are so many people on this album that are incredibly underground. People that only really have a few notable features or mixtapes to their name, if that. There's some bigger names on here like Prince Poe and Dead Prez, and there are some Stones Throw Records staples too, affiliates from Strong Arm Steady, M.E.D., Aloe Black, Guilty Simpson. But even if you're huge into underground hip-hop, I guarantee that a good handful of people on this album will be new to you. And to kind of go over the tracks, they're a bit of a combination of the beat being better than the MC being better than the beat. There just not really being much chemistry between the MC and the beat, and those rare moments where it just all seems to come together and function properly. The album starts off with Sonata Watts on the song Big Cat, and he's got this really kind of heavy, forceful persona in his flow that I like a lot and matches the dark beat behind him. Guilty Simpson comes up on the next track, and while I am not really a Guilty Simpson fan, his hefty personality over this really husky horn hit in the beat is a nice combo. And the album sadly starts to go downhill for me after that. John Wayne on the track Smoke is decent. I think he picks a really interesting flow for that track over that rhythm, but the synthesizers feel a little aimless on the track and are kind of overpowering. Tone Tank comes in with this kind of messy, old dirty bastard swagger on the track What You Want, and it's a great beat, but he's just making these really terrible similes throughout the track, and it kind of ruins it for me. Everything from there up to track 11 really hits me as being kind of forgettable until I hear Chicago MC Diverse with some really nice chemistry over his instrumental. But Quakers kind of puts together this issue of deja vu for me by putting out an MC with a similar flow against a similar beat on the track right after. My biggest disappointment is toward the middle of the LP though, where I think, one of the best beats is wrecked by one of the worst verses on here. I'm talking about the track Dark City Lights. These fat pulsating synthesizers are right there on the beat. I love it. The drums are crispy and just relentless. The whole thing kind of sounds like it was sampled from some old 80s sci-fi soundtrack. But then I cringe when the first lyric comes in, "Your boy Nitty is back like bonjour. I learned that on the streets of Paris when on tour." And that's for sure, but we say for sure. My chica kinda curvy and her hips concurve. It kind of makes up for it with the track R.A.I.D shortly after with Lyric Jones, who is this great female MC I haven't heard of before. She had a really powerful voice and a forceful personality, and she had me going right from the first line where she was saying extra, extra, no time to read it, I'll text you. She had some clever lines on there, and she definitely kind of broke up the monotony of the album a bit. On the track Chicken Livers, FC The Truth drops this really plain, kind of lazy flow. I really wondered if he was even trying, and even Aloe Black shortly after sounds way more unenthusiastic than I would anticipate him being. The thing is, on this LP, because there are so many MCs trying to hit you and run, there's so many songs on here that are about nothing. Nothing. A few tracks have very obvious themes, like the song Soul Power, which talks about soul music of the 60s and 70s and the struggle for equal rights. And there are lots of really kind of cute fighting metaphors on the track Chunky Balboa. But a lot of tracks on here don't tell much of a story and don't really add to any overall theme of this album. The production, though, is great. It's very Madlib influenced, though it is very great Madlib influenced beat making, loaded with lots of tasteful funk, soul, and jazz samples, with the occasional break that sounds like it was lifted from a really obscure soundtrack or some record that was just found when digging deep, just very deep into some crates, dusty old musty crates. Of course, I thought the instrumental side of this album was way more interesting and engaging than the MC side. But even as I listen to the instrumentals, I kind of sit there and wonder what the potential of them could have been if there were just more interesting lyricists on here, or if maybe a handful of the lyricists were able to kind of experiment with more tracks and maybe show more sides to their persona. But overall, this album is not really a precision cut. It's not a steadily aimed sniper rifle hitting directly in the middle of its target. It's really a blindfolded shotgun blast. I'm really on the fence because I do love the instrumentals, but I am so not into a lot of the MCs on this thing. They're either just not pleasing me at all, or they're just kind of passing me by, not really delivering much of anything in terms of lyrics that makes me want to come back to this thing. Kind of feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this. I don't know how you guys feel about this thing, but that's pretty much me. Just one man's opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about this thing. This is just one man's opinion. But does this album make you want to just throw it into your CD player, play it over and over and over again, become an MC yourself, start a cypher in your backyard and hope that all the local MCs in the area come down to rap battle you? Or does it make you want to do backflips across giant piles of broken glass and rusty nails? Let me know. Anthony Fantano, Quakers, forever.